Hey everyone, this is my personal top 10 films of the year list. Since it's been a few days since the end of the year, I thought it'd be a good idea to put this list out after watching all of the films available to me. So before I get into the top 10, I wanted to give out some honorable mentions. The first honorable mention is Deadpool. Deadpool was a huge hit this year, came out Valentine's Day, and the humor was unbelievable. The second funniest film I've seen this year, right under Popstar Never Stop Never Stopping, which unfortunately is not on this list. But Deadpool, the way they used the references, poking fun at the X-Men universe and the past Ryan Reynolds superhero roles, it was just a perfect storm. But it also had this real relationship in there, told that story, the revenge story. The action was great, and the fourth wall breaking was everything you expected from a Deadpool movie. Another honorable mention is Nocturnal Animals. This film probably gave me the strongest reaction out of all of the films I've seen this year. A reaction of disgust because of the subject matter. It starts off, I don't know exactly what it is yet, but once you figure it out and the ball starts rolling, you really get into the characters. The way that the story is structured is really interesting. The directing is very good. The performances, Jake Gyllenhaal gives a fantastic performance, as well as Michael Shannon and Aaron Taylor Johnson, both as supporting actors, also bring a lot to this film. Next, honorable mention, Sultan, film that I know not a lot of people saw this year. It was a Indian film, completely foreign language, about a wrestler who loses everything and comes back and tries to redeem himself in this new sport that's being introduced in India, which is mixed martial arts. And the journey that this main character takes, this film will give you a wide range of different emotions: sadness, happiness, inspiration. It's just an incredible feat. It's an epic adventure, epic journey, and all of the performances go well together with the film, and I love this a lot. Hacksaw Ridge. The performance by Andrew Garfield is incredible. He really sticks to this character and makes you believe what he believes. At least makes you believe that he believes what he believes. And the war sequences in the last third of this film are some of the best war sequences I've seen in a film ever, probably. Mel Gibson returns with a great directed film, great performances, everything that you'd want from a biopic war film. And the last honorable mention that I have is Rogue One. Rogue One was interesting for me to see because I am not a Star Wars fan by any stretch of the imagination, any phrasing of that word. But Rogue One really blew me away. The way that I was invested in the story, invested in the characters, the way that it added to the mythology and seamlessly transitioned from this story to episode 4 was incredible. I loved all of the different nods to the lore of Star Wars, and it's one of the most fun experiences I had in the theater in a long time. I loved it. So now we're going to get into my top 10 films of the year.
Number 10.
Number 10 is The Lobster. The Lobster stars Colin Farrell and is a very dry, dark comedy, if you could even say comedy, I would, about this world where single people, if they do not get into a relationship in a certain amount of time, then they are transformed into an animal. Very weird premise, very weird story, but the payoff is incredible once you get to the end. One of the best endings of the year for me, for sure. The performance by Colin Farrell is perfect for this world that they've created. The directing is amazing. The writing is fantastic. The atmosphere is just so quirky, and it works so well with the subject. So good.
Number 9.
Number 9, a film that a lot of people probably aren't going to have on their top 10s, is The Accountant. I really love The Accountant. I saw this film twice in the theaters. It's one of my favorites, favorite action films I've seen in a long time. But it's not just an action film, because I was expecting straight up action, but it's really a character driven, like focusing on this main character who's the accountant, and his backstory is told very well. The subject matter dealing with autism is handled respectfully. It doesn't give it to you heavy-handedly, but it also doesn't shy away from the effects that something like that would have. And I thought the performances were great. Ben Affleck is perfect as the character. I didn't expect him to be, but it works very well. Anna Kendrick is a good supporting performance for him. A lot of great cast members. You have J.K. Simmons, you have John Lithgow, you have John Bernthal, and they all come together very well. The twists and turns in this film are worth seeing, and I just had so much fun watching it.
Number 8.
Number 8 is The Neon Demon. The Neon Demon is a Nicholas Winding Refn film. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And so if you know anything about him, you can expect a graphic nature, gore, blood. And this film definitely has a sexiness to it. It definitely has a graphic nature to it. It's something that would turn a lot of people off, and I know that it did. It didn't get high ratings this year, but man, if this isn't one of the most beautiful films, it's shot so beautifully. The visuals are fantastic. The performances are great. Elle Fanning is a perfect protagonist for the audience to experience the events of the film through. And Jenna Malone is wonderful as her character. Adds a lot to the story. I think she was definitely a standout here. This director just knows how to push her buttons, and I definitely had an emotional reaction to this film, as well as Nocturnal Animals. Different type of reaction, but still a disgust, a gut, like, one of those things where you just can't stop watching what's going on, and it's so good to me. I love it.
Number 7.
7 is Manchester by the Sea. Manchester by the Sea stars Casey Affleck and Michelle Williams, and it's a story about a man who must take care of his nephew and is stuck with that responsibility after a certain event occurs. I thought this film was so emotional, so raw, so realistic, and Casey Affleck's performance is so good. It's mostly subtle, but when it's passionate, it gets all the way to 11. It's one of the best performances I've seen this year, and there's a lot of great scenes, a lot of powerful scenes here. This is a movie that it doesn't like manipulate you. It doesn't try to pull on your heartstrings, but you will, feel something. It's a story about grief. It's a story about family, and it just hits all the points that you would need in a drama like this. So, hats off to everyone involved in this film.
Number 6.
Number 6 is Moonlight. Moonlight has 3 acts, and each act focuses on a different aspect of the main character's life and him growing up into the man he eventually becomes. And it's a really, really powerful story. It deals with a specific subject matter that it's a story that needed to be told. I'll just say that it's so important to be put on screen. I don't think I've seen a film tackle this subject matter the way that this one does. The performances are great. Mahershala Ali brings a long-lasting performance. His presence that he brings lasts throughout, and that's what an incredible performance does. It keeps you thinking about him. If I were to just say one thing, everyone said that this was like such a great film, one of the best films of the year, the best film of the year, everything like that. So my expectations were here. I think the movie was like right here. If you notice, my hand dropped down a little bit. Like, the expectations were here, and what I got from it was like right here. So technically, I was disappointed, but man, if this isn't one of the best disappointments you can have, wow, it's such a great film.
Number 5.
Number 5 is Captain America: Civil War. This is a film I was anticipating for a long time before it was released. I've, been keeping up with the MCU for 8 years now, and I've been invested in these characters for so long, but they've introduced new characters. The way that they bring the old characters, the characters from the last couple of movies, and then the brand new characters, and they all have their moments. They all shine. Nothing feels out of place. Nothing feels rushed. Everything comes together so well. The story, it isn't just a stereotypical superhero action film. Like, it has heart. It deals with real people. These aren't just archetypes. Like, you have these clashing of ideals. It gets political. It gets really emotional towards the end. It has two of the best action sequences of all time. Number one being the airport sequence. So good. And I just love the way that this film was put together. It had such a high expectation and such a hard task, but I think writers and directors executed it very well.
Number 4.
Number 4 is Hell or High Water. When I first saw the trailers for this, I thought it was just a generic Western type, like people robbing banks, and it's just going to be like a red box DVD film, but some of the best tension of the year. The performances, Ben Foster gives a great performance. All the supporting actors are wonderful here, and I don't want to say that it's a simple story. I hate to say simple, but it is a story that doesn't have a lot of twists. It's a pretty clear story, but the way that it unfolds and all of the suspense that it carries is just so it weighs down on you in a positive way. Like, it makes you feel like you're in this world. I recommend this one for sure.
Number 3.
Number 3 was La La Land. La La Land is a film that also was characterized as the best film of the year, great performances, and my expectations were also raised. But unlike Moonlight, I think that this met my expectations perfectly. Such high expectations, and I thought that this was great. By far the best musical I've ever seen. And Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone are perfect together. Their chemistry is unmatched. The way that they have the musical, fantastical elements in this real world, it fits together so well. It starts off with a musical number, so you know exactly what you're getting into. And the shift that this film has, it deals with darker themes, darker subject matter, and it handles it so well. Kind of reminds me of Boogie Nights, the way that it has this high and then it has this low, but the high doesn't take away from the low doesn't take away from the high. It's just such a well put together film. La La Land, definitely by far one of the best of the year.
Number 2.
My number 2 film of the year is Edge of 17. When I saw the marketing material for this, without the trailer, I just saw like the poster, I saw the synopsis and all of that, and I was like, oh, this is just going to be one of those. But I saw the trailer, and the trailer really surprised me, and it actually exceeded my expectations because, if this isn't one of the most powerful films of the year, this is... I forgot to mention in La La Land, I cried in one specific scene in La La Land. I cried in 2 specific scenes in this movie. That's how powerful this hit me. Did not expect it from a comedy like this. And the way that the characters are, it's just such a realistic film, like a coming-of-age teen film, but it doesn't give you that lowbrow cliche sense. Like, it's really mature. It really hits you. Doesn't pull any punches. I love the fact that it's rated R because it needed to be rated R. Teens talk the way that they do, talk about the things that they do, experience the things that they do, and I just love the way that they showed it so realistically, so genuinely. The performances are all genuine. I was surprised that a film like this would be in my number 2, but oh my gosh, if this didn't hit me harder than anything else besides my number 1, then it had to make it.
Number 1!
And my number 1 film of the year. Number 1 film of the year is Arrival. Denis Villeneuve proves once again he is a force to be reckoned with in directing. One of the best directors we have right now. So good. Enemy, Sicario, Prisoners, this, and I'm so excited for the Blade Runner sequel coming out. But as far as this movie goes, beautifully directed, beautifully shot. The cinematography is fantastic. And I've never seen any film like this, the way that they deal with aliens coming to Earth. It isn't a Independence Day, no knock to Independence Day, but it just isn't that type. It's more intellectual. They're trying to figure out what to do with the situation. And Amy Adams gives a fantastic performance here. I think this is much better. Not to knock Nocturnal Animals, which was my honorable mention, but I think her performance here is just so superior to anything else she had this year. The story here is it blew my mind. It made me feel something I've never felt in my life. The experience that I had in this theater is unlike any emotional reaction I've ever had. I felt it so hard, so much, that there's no way I couldn't put this as my number 1 film. The ending is mind-blowing, but even up to the ending, it's just, you're so invested in what's going to happen and how the beginning relates to the end and what it all means, and then when it ties together, it's so good. It makes you want to watch it again. I unfortunately have not been able to see it for the second time, but that first viewing was just incredible to me. I could not stop thinking about it. I still think about it to this day. It puts you into the main character's shoes. Like, what would you do in this situation? It really makes you think. And I appreciate that so much. That's my top 10, my personal top 10, the way I felt. The movies I love, the movies I had the biggest reactions to, the movies I still think about, the movies I want to watch again. I put all those into the consideration when making this list, and I hope some of these films you agree with. If you haven't seen any one of these films, please check them out. I won't say that I can't say that these are films that everyone is going to love, especially like Neon Demon and The Lobster, probably the most obscure out of the list. But check it out. Just for experiencing the director's vision and the performances that are involved, please check out these films. So that's it for me. Please like this video if you enjoyed what I had to say, and if you enjoyed the content. Comment below, tell me what you thought about any of the films this year. What are your favorite films of the year? What is your top 10? What are your honorable mentions? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you guys. Please subscribe to my channel for more reviews and more top 10 lists just like this one. And have a good one.